Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an educational episode of The Untold today. I'm your host, Lujain AlAtheri.
And of course, I'm your host, Abdullah AlHendyani, and today we are going to be talking a lot about education, so stay tuned after the break. And welcome back for joining us after the break, ladies and gentlemen. We want to welcome our guest here, Rawan AlHazzaa, for being our guest tonight on The Untold. So thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. And I was interested to hear that not only are you a teacher, but you're an English teacher.
Yeah.
So first I want to ask you, why did you choose to become a teacher?
Actually, I did not choose to become a teacher, but I was good in English when I was a kid. So I was like, okay, this is the only thing I have. So I studied English literature. And on the side, I also studied archaeology.
Amazing.
Which is new. And then I had to become a teacher because I couldn't find any other job. And I loved teaching since then.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool. By the way, I also studied English literature and I also loved English growing up.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose it. But as you said, it was harder to find a job.
Yes.
But it's cool that you did archaeology as well. When I was a kid, that was one of my biggest dreams. I don't know why growing up, I watched a lot of shows where archaeology was more of a thing than it is right now.
Yeah.
Like you always thought you could go become an archaeologist and travel and do things. But it's not as easy as they made it seem in all the childhood programs I watched.
It's not. Definitely
Did
not.
you ever consider that?
Yeah, as a kid who watches a lot of movies, I used to love Indiana Jones. And
Yeah.
I thought archaeologists were like that until I grew up. And one of my friends actually became an archaeologist in Kuwait. It's such a boring job.
Yeah.
You make it seem a lot
Very
cooler
hard,
than you
yeah,
think.
very hard because you have to be really delicate if you're doing like the surveys and everything. You have to be really, really like patient and careful to get the job done.
Yeah, there's a lot of times of just, digging through empty lands.
It's just like I just want to do this. That's the only thing I want to do.
But yeah.
Oh, no, I was going to say
sorry.
it's just not as adventurous as people might have it out to be.
Yeah, it is. And speaking about adventures, being in the classroom every day is an adventure on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of my friends are teachers, and I remember one of them, even though now 15 years ago, he still looks like how he was 15 years ago.
Mm.
So when he got hired, one of the most difficult things about being a teacher in the first day was convincing the guard at the door that he was actually a teacher, not a student. Now, this just goes back to my question is that how was your first year of teaching? What were the difficulties of that year?
My students think I'm their age. They still believe I'm 23 and they can like be playful and everything around me. I'm like, you can be playful, but we have a limit. So from day one, I try to build that limit. I am very friendly in the classroom. But if you do something you should not be doing, I would let you know. In a very strict way, not something like shouting or like grades, deducting grades or anything. I just talked to you the first time, and I had to learn this by myself. I did not have anyone to help me because I did not even know what teaching is. I didn't know how to explain something, like how do you write an essay? I just know how to do it. I just don't know how to explain it to them. So it was not easy. The first year was horrible. Yeah.
Well, I can imagine it was a learning process for you as well. As you said, like, you know how to do these things, but
Yeah.
explaining them is a completely different beast, you could say.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, oh, if I know this, I can easily teach it to someone. But going back and remembering a lot of times my father would teach me math at home and how hard it was, because to him, it's a very simple concept. And to me, it was something I could not understand.
Yeah.
I think the way you teach things can go a long way in making sure the student understands or not. And a lot of people don't realize the impact a teacher can have on a child's kind of learning experience. So you mentioned that it was hard to kind of find a balance a bit between them thinking that they're your friend versus otherwise. So how did you kind of balance being approachable and friendly, but also keeping respect and discipline in the classroom?
Well, as I said before, a teacher is all in one. You're a nurse, you're a lawyer, you're a mother, you're everything. So I had to let them know that I am their big sister. And you respect your big sister. You can be playful with her, but there is a respect in the process. So there are a few things that you don't say to your big sister. So I'm that. This is what I built in my classrooms, and they understand that, and they try not to cross that line. Yeah.
Emphasis on try.
Yes.
And you know, when it comes to teaching, all teachers, all educators have their own kind of methods. And you know, so many years now, one of the few instructors that I remember is one of my teachers who said, you only have 15 minutes or 20 minutes at minute maximum with the students' attention. So all of her classroom were like, even though this was back in university for the masters, the classroom is supposed to be 3 hours. All of her classroom barely got to 30 minutes. And I still know the things I've learned from that classroom, which brings me back to your approach to your classrooms. Like, how do you deal with the students? How do you tackle educating them? How do you tackle managing this kind of environment?
Well, the curriculum is a little old for them. Like the TVs, the telephones that are mentioned in the book are a bit old for them. So I try to turn it into something they know. For example, I do a lot of themed lessons. Like once we had a lesson about Diwania, so I created a Diwania for them with snacks and everything. So I create the atmosphere that we're supposed to study about, so they can understand it better. Like even for there was like a family celebration, so I made this whole birthday party for them, and it was for an essay writing. So after we finish the party and everything, now we go to the outline. What did we do? It was much easier for them to gather the ideas from what we did in real life. So I like to do things that are not artificial intelligence, something they can touch, they can feel, they can see. I like to use their senses mostly. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a really cool approach that you have. You sound like a very fun teacher.
I hope so.
I mean, looking back, I know I always loved my English teachers a lot. They were some of my favorites to have. I used to have one who every single Thursday was like, on this day, we're going to basically read, but we're going to also bring snacks and everyone's going to kind of have a discussion. And it was a very simple thing, but it wasn't forcing us to be so rigid in the learning.
Yeah.
It wasn't just follow this book, write this exercise, write this essay. She allowed us to kind of get into the idea of the story, but also kind of have fun while doing it. And that's why those lessons kind of impacted me the most, because I think when you're able to kind of create a balance in the classroom between the seriousness of the lesson and the fun you can have from learning, the kid kind of learns even more. So is this why you chose to kind of create this kind of balance in your classroom?
Yeah, because every workshop I go to in school, they use AI, which is something I don't prefer because they have it at home. Why would I bring it to school? So I prefer something they can use all their five senses with. Like the Diwani, I made them assemble the whole, the tables and everything. I try to make them relate to the topic rather than have an AI telling you what the topic is, or creating something I don't know, making someone who is not here talk to them. It's just inhuman for me. So I like them to be connected together, like they're actually doing the group work. It's not just take this task and work with your group. They're not gonna do that. I know. Yeah, because I was a student myself. I did not like that, and I have a task that I have to do with other people. It's boring, and we all have different ideas. We're not going to be able to express all of our ideas at the same time. So when they do something physical, they can actually get out with something, like creating a board game for a grammar lesson. I made a board game with some apps, and they play with the dice and they move around, and there is this mini teacher who has the cheat sheet, and she'll be teaching them. And usually I make the weak student who is not very good in English the teacher, and they always get the most benefit from the whole semester. And her being the teacher and having this power, it makes her understand when she explains the rules to the students. So it helps them to communicate better this way.
I think it's great that you're still keeping these kind of more old school traditions. And it's crazy that now you consider these old school traditions in a classroom, because it didn't feel like that long ago. This was just how classrooms worked. But things have changed so much now. Even how you mentioned that you used like an app and stuff to create this board game. We didn't really have apps growing up when we were
Yeah.
learning. So it was a very, very different environment. And as you said, the kids, when they're learning, they don't understand the telephone, they don't understand TV because they didn't have this growing up. Most of them, especially the younger ones, grew up in an environment completely different than us, where a lot of this technology was just a part of their everyday life.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to me that you're able to kind of find the balance between them to allow the kid to kind of connect with what's happening now, but also with the lesson. And I think a lot of teachers could benefit from doing something more tactile. Like I've heard that there are studies that kids learn more when they get to write, when they get to feel, when they get to touch.
Yes.
Whereas if you're just, as you said, looking at slides and stuff like that, you're actually not retaining information properly. Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's true because even in college, when you see the professor just talking, you don't get much of it. So you have to be like active during the session. And I try my best to, I have like 25 students each class. Yeah, and I have to engage all these 25 students. And it's not easy because there are special needs. There are like cases that need more like support and patience. So I try to like leave the simple tasks for someone who is not very good in English. I try to put them in groups that, you know, like this student is like very good in English. I put her with someone who's not very good so they can like help each other, and they do help each other. I can see it like in with my own eyes that it's helping them. Most of my students are improving because of this. If I just like put the slides and talk, I wouldn't know that they don't understand. And if you ask them, do you understand? They would definitely say yes. Yeah.
So do you find that aspect of the job, you know, one of the difficult things about it, where you have to tailor your, let's say, personality for each of these students?
Well, yeah, because even like they're all the same age, each classroom is totally different. Like something I can do to this class and they be really excited, and something I do for the other class is going to be boring for them. So I don't know if you've heard this, but they say that teachers think and make a lot of decisions in the minutes. And this is what I do. I have to like study the room and see if this is gonna work or not. I have to make the decision like right now, which is exhausting but beneficial. I mean, it helps me so I don't create a boring session. So yeah.
That's a really interesting tidbit of information, because I think a lot of people, they think, oh, when you're a teacher, you have a set plan, and that set plan is how you do the class. But the idea of having to improvise based on the students, on what's happening that day, I think it goes beyond a lot of people's understanding of what the job actually expects.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I do have a lesson plan. I have everything planned, but on spot you can sense. And for example, the students are sleepy today, or they just finished a very difficult exam or something. They're not in the mood to play. So you have to sense everyone, the 25 students, so you can have a successful session with them.
Yeah, it goes back to what you said about being a teacher is being everything to the student.
Yeah, you're all in one.
All in
yes,
one.
Yeah.
We are going to take a very quick break, and then we can dive into this further. So stay tuned. And we're back from that short break. So, we were discussing, how it is for you as a teacher, different approaches in the classroom. I did want to ask you, though, how important is the emotional well-being of the child in the learning process?
It is very, 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 very important, because I had a student for a full year, I could not get to her. But then I realized when I am very close to her, physically, she can answer the question. She just needs someone who backs her up. And I'm here next to you. Whatever happens, no one is going to listen but me. So she was able to answer, and surprisingly, all of her answers were correct. Yeah, yes, emotional support is very, very important, because this is something I do. I let students write anonymous letters to me, and they put them on my desk. And I tell them, you don't have to write your name if you don't want me to know. And that helped them a lot to get a bit closer to me and they feel comfortable and the environment is totally safe for them, so they can talk freely, they can express their opinions without any fear or like, is she gonna judge me for what I said or not? No, they're completely like comfortable in the whole classroom.
It's always great to hear that there are some or a lot of advancements when it comes to understanding the students. That the situation between a teacher and a student is not just telling them the lesson, you're actively guiding them through life. Because, I remember back when I was in elementary school, this is maybe more than 20 years ago, there was no such thing as the emotional well-being of the child, right?
Yeah.
I remember one of my teachers, AlHazzaa, he used to say, anyone talks, and he would do this.
Oh my, okay.
There's no emotional well-being to the teacher.
Now we're not allowed to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Students are not allowed to stand like a detention or something like that. That's not allowed anymore.
That's why I'm saying that I'm so happy to know that there are active movements now to understand the child and to tailor, right, your approach to how you approach the classroom towards each child's, emotional well-being, their emotional state, because they are so vulnerable during these ages.
True.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to deal with them like on spot. I had to see a lot of issues, a lot of drama, a lot of fights in real life. And this is how I learned how to deal with teenagers, and it helped me even at home. It's like, okay, I can deal with the kids at home. I can deal with the kids who are not mine. So it's made things easier. Like now I can understand mostly all teenagers and how they think. So I also help like my friends who are mothers and how to deal with their kids. So the job taught me a lot of things about teenagers, things that I needed to understand as a teenager. Now I know what I did, the things I did. Yeah.
They always say hindsight is 20/20. So it's like you looked back, you're like, oh, this is why I did these things.
Yeah,
Understanding
exactly.
it all. But I think that's actually a role of being a teacher that most people don't think about, the psychological side. How to deal with like the emotions of children, teenagers, and how it changes based on the ages as well. And like, let's say, for instance, you have a child that is struggling. What do you do in that situation? How can you help them? Or how can you tell that they're struggling?
You can tell by like body language and facial expressions that this kid may not understand the lesson. I had to learn that. I had to read their faces so I can tell if they actually understood me or not. Because as I said, they're gonna say, yes, we understand. So I had to look at them, 25 students, like in a few seconds, and then I have to know which part they did not understand so I can re-explain. It wasn't easy. It took me about 2 years to understand how to do that. So yeah, too much work.
It's a lot more draining than I thought being a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to say, because you mentioned earlier in the episode that the way you conduct yourself in the classrooms, that a lot of these students consider you one of their friends, but you also have to maintain a level of professionalism. So how do you find that, level of professionalism? How do you manage to be their friends while also being a person of authority?
Okay, so the first thing I do each year, I introduce myself to the students. I tell them about the things I like, things I like to watch, like movies and TV shows. So they get like comfortable and, oh, she's sharing some things, like a part of her, so we're able to share. But there is a limit, okay? I can share a few things, but there are things that I can't talk to you about. So I give them the do's and don'ts. Like I give them the rules. You're allowed to do this. You can ask me about my cats, but you can't ask me other questions. Yeah. So I give them a limit from day one, and I keep doing that like the whole year. I have to remind them every now and then. And usually I'm very friendly, very playful. I laugh with them. But if something wrong goes on in the classroom, they get to see the other side, that no, I'm serious now. We're not playing, we're not joking anymore. We have to get things settled. So it's like the tone you use, your voice. This is how they can tell if this is serious or not. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's very important, to have those boundaries. Would you say that, I know we touched upon it a little bit earlier, but would you say that teaching has changed a lot since you were in school yourself?
Well, I became the teacher I always wanted, so I mean, with other teachers, like the things I see in school, yes, it is completely different. There are parts that like different in a good way, and other parts that are not so great. But yeah, it had changed a lot. But I prefer the traditional method. This is what I'm doing now. Yeah.
And so what would you say is the most rewarding part about being a teacher?
Um, this is not related, but I remember a student called me Yuma, and that melted my heart. So that was rewarding. I have a teacher, a student who graduated, and now she's studying English literature because of me.
Awesome.
And I have helped other students do other things that I don't think I'm able to talk about now. So this is very rewarding, and seeing them improve in like the exams, their grades and everything. This is very, very rewarding and heartwarming.
I'm sure it is, especially knowing that you made an impact on these kids and that they're pursuing their dreams, their goals, because you were there to kind of guide them.
Yeah.
It really makes a big difference. I'm so sure of that. I do want to ask you though, because I know a lot of people, when they think of education, they focus mainly on the facts or the sciences, and they think those are the important things. But I think we all here know that there's another side, which is the more creative side of things.
Yeah.
So would you say that creativity is an important part of an education?
It is. It is like the main part, not just an important part. For me, I like to use things they don't have, like on their phone or like AI and things like that. So I remember once I got them a flip phone, like a used one, so we can do the topic that talked about like phones and how they evolved and things like that. They were so happy. It was like, what is this? How does it flip like that? So the things they can touch, the things they can see from my past, for them, this is too old. So they enjoy this. It's like something new to them, something they have not seen in other classes. So I have to be creative 24/7. Yeah, I have to think of things that are not usual for them. And I have my sister who used to be an English teacher for boys. So I get some like hints and help from her and how to do things, because she had to do everything from scratch, because we don't have the things like the strategies we have nowadays. So sometimes I try to build things from scratch, like the board games and like scenarios, like they have to act something. They love that. They love to act a lot.
And how do you maintain their focus and attention in the classroom? Because I know one of the most common complaints about children during a lot of these recent generations is that they really are distracted by the most smallest of things. They don't have a lot of attention span. So how do you approach those kind of problems within the classroom?
Personally, I like to stay silent for a few seconds so they know, no, something is wrong. And they would look at me and my tone would change. I would either use like a very high tone, so they would look at me, or just stay silent. And they would look at me and I try to engage them in something fun. It always has to be something fun they can do, or they can read or listen to, something interesting. So if I'm just talking about cell phones in the past, that's going to be boring. I have to show them what they look like. Like, for example, I showed them my tablet. Look, I can read books. I can buy books from here and there. So they can see it. That was very interesting for them. Even though it wasn't part of the lesson, it was just something they did not know about, and they're getting to know about like physically.
I feel like it's really interesting when you think about how things have evolved. Like when you mentioned that they're learning about phones and how they've evolved, we didn't have that growing up,
Yeah.
because we didn't have that many different evolutions of the phone. You had
Yeah.
the house phone, you had the flip mobile
Yeah.
phone, and that was it. It was a very simple thing. But nowadays, even very young kids, they all have tablets and smartphones and other things. And some of them, even like when they're babies, have started using tablets already.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's a whole generational divide almost. And as Abdullah said, there has been a lot of complaints about modern generation with attention spans. So I do want to ask you, because have you felt that it's impacted how they write? Because you're an English teacher. So I know that I've heard that people say kids complain that they can't write essays anymore.
They can't.
Really? Oh, that's so bad.
Sadly, yeah, they can't. I'm trying my best to make it as simple as possible, but usually at the beginning of the year, I teach them like the correct way to do a summary, to translate, to paraphrase, and everything, and then I give them the easy part. I have to start like very hard. So when I come to the easy part, they know how to do it. And alhamdulillah, they have been doing great. Their grades can tell, and they are becoming better in English. It's gonna take time to improve them because it started from a young age. They just listen, but they don't understand the language. They're not practicing. Even in a classroom, even though they try to talk in English, they can't complete the sentence. They need help. So yeah, that's very unfortunate, something I really hope that I can work on, and I don't know, create maybe a classroom just for that, like an extra class for that, so it can help them, because now English is everywhere and they have to know not just the essays, they have to speak the language.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the topic of writing, this is something I was reading, just this week, that so many universities, and this is for United States, not here, so many universities and professors have gone back to forcing students to deliver written homeworks. So that's their way of fighting AI, because they know that now whenever you give a homework to a child, 90% of the time, they're not going to be the ones who solve this. It's going to be some AI thing.
Yeah.
So do you find that within the level of classroom you're teaching, there's an influx of these AI-driven answers?
Yes, especially when we were studying online. I knew for sure that they did not write that. Like, how did you learn all these big words? No way. No way. I know you guys. And even when you copy and paste the text, you can tell where the text came from. Like, the font is different. Yeah, this is why I don't like to use AI in classrooms, so I don't make it as a normal thing for them to use in a classroom or doing their homework. So whenever I want them to translate a word or something, go to a dictionary or go to an app that translates only this word. Don't translate the whole essay, it's gonna look weird. It's gonna be off. So yes, AI and all of this artificial intelligence has been a very difficult thing for me as a teacher, because they give me really good answers for the homework, but then I see the grades on their final exams or their quizzes and it's not the same. So yeah, it's not benefiting them, it is actually doing the opposite.
I can imagine, especially from a young age, when they're kind of fresh using their mind, they need that chance to let their thoughts and their brains grow.
Sure.
So without that ability, it can really lead them astray, especially later in life when they need to apply these skills.
Yeah.
But, on another note, I do want to ask you, like, what impact do you hope to have on, the future generations as you teach them?
I just want them to be comfortable in class, and I really wish all teachers can be creative. I'm not the most creative person. I just want them to make the students feel more appreciated and loved and protected, because some of them think that the teachers are out there to get them. We're not. We're not. I'm just doing my job so I can sleep at night. So yeah, I really hope the teaching process can be something interesting. Like, I used to love to go to school. I loved English classes. I used to do a lot of presentations about weird stuff because this is something I enjoyed, and the teachers could tell. I remember I saw one of my high school teachers. She still remembers me from the weird presentations I had to do. So I want them to be comfortable. I want them to express their opinions as much as they can, but without anything that's sensitive or
And speaking of that, I feel like I love that, you did weird presentations. Like, why not? Just, it's fun when I think a child expresses themselves and has that kind of thing going for them. But I do want to ask you, like, in your opinion, what defines a successful teacher?
Actually, you can see that in the students. They can tell you if the teacher is good or not. If they like her, if they feel comfortable, they don't have to love you. It's not their job to love you. But if they feel safe, they can talk, they can express themselves in the classroom, you can tell the teacher is good. Like I can attend other classes with other teachers and you can see the students are bored because it's just talking. So yeah, you can tell from the students more than like the HOD visiting you and writing a report and stuff. No, the students can confirm how good you are.
Yeah, I think the teachers that linger within the students so many years after school ends are the great ones. With that being said, I do want to thank you for joining us on today's episode of The Untold. This has been very entertaining, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a delight.
It really was, and I think you are one of the great ones yourself, from what I've heard. So good luck with all of your
Thank you.
teaching, and I hope it goes well for you.
Inshallah. Thank you so much.
And with that, stay tuned for after the break. And we're back from that short break. And honestly, Abdullah, talking to Rawan was amazing. I thought that the way she approached education was so fun, so interesting. And I love the fact that she managed to keep the old and the new while also fostering a lot of safety and comfort for her kids.
Yeah, you're very right about that, Lujain. You know, it brings warmth to my heart to know that there are teachers like that in the schoolrooms, right? You know, your children are at most in secure hands. You can rest assured from all of that. I think that's the key takeaway from tonight's episode. But that's it from us here, the team of The Untold. Until next episode, ladies and gentlemen, goodbye for now.
Goodbye and see you next time.